Most founders sound exactly like the people they're trying to compete against. If you want to be competitive in a crowded market, you can't just be better, you have to be different. I'm your host, Cameron Olds.
And I'm Dallin Merrill. We're here to talk about how you can avoid being mistaken for your competition, differentiate your brand, and ultimately be the most exciting choice in the market.
Welcome to Differentiate or Die.
This episode of Differentiate or Die is brought to you by MessageOS. And by brought by, we mean written by. Every line you hear, every call to action, headline, or punchy one-liner, MessageOS helps us write it fast, on message, perfectly consistent, no second guessing. It's like having a strategist, copywriter, and brand guardian in one AI-powered tool. If you're building a brand and tired of sounding like everyone else, MessageOS keeps your message differentiated and consistent. Try it at protagonistcomms.co. See it in the link description below. Okay, so today we're kicking off with Young Living versus doTERRA and what we're calling the essential oils empires battle. It's currently top of mind because recently doTERRA topped $2 billion in sales for 2024. What a crazy benchmark. What do you think of that, Cam?
Yeah, that was actually kind of crazy because the whole multi-level marketing, direct selling industry right now is kind of going through a metamorphosis or a reconfiguration, and as a result of that, there are lots and lots of direct selling companies that are either going under or choosing to close up shop because the landscape is changing so rapidly with affiliate programs and influencer things and people not really being interested in being a part of the MLM ecosystem and community. So there's a lot of companies. It's really turbulent waters for that whole industry right now. And so normally right now you'd expect to see a decline in sales. You'd start to you'd expect to see them report a lower amount because everyone else is reporting a lower amount. In fact, last week or 2 weeks ago, a big MLM called Modere, they just shut it all down. They just up and closed up shop and let everyone go, and no one's working there anymore. It's not a company. They're getting rid of it. And so to see that doTERRA was posting that kind of revenue was actually really, really surprising, because Young Living would follow them in revenue. Like the two of them would just they would just match each other. When one would go up, the other would go up, and when one would go down, the other would go down. And so to see doTERRA still stay at the $2 billion mark was actually really, really impressive. It was super, super shocking.
Wow, that is really crazy. And that's amid, a changing presidential race, recovering from a global pandemic, at cost of living increases. So people are still willing to spend on essential oils. And let's get into that a little bit as we start off. What are essential oils? What is this market?
Yeah, so it all started really with the founder of Young Living, whose name was Gary Young. And he was the one who initially brought the product of essential oils to market and kind of commercialized it, because before that, no one had heard of essential oil, or maybe they had heard of essential oils, but it was still kind of this really fringe, holistic, emerging solution that people had in antiquity. People would use essential oils from frankincense or from mint or stuff to kind of treat some conditions or for cultural purposes, but it hadn't been brought to market yet. It hadn't been mainstreamed. And so Gary took the idea of essential oils and did that. So he brought them and popularized them. He really was the OG, the guy that blazed a trail for essential oils. And essentially what essential oils are is it's just it's plant compounds. So it's the distilled essence of a plant. Certain plants, usually botanicals, and they're used for lots and lots of different purposes, like aromatherapy, There's topical application where like you can roll it onto your skin, like lavender, roll it onto your skin, your temples at night and help you sleep. It's in cosmetics and perfumes, and Young Living and both Young Living and doTERRA have also injected it into like food and drink as well. So there's so many different use and applications for essential oils. Some people would tell you that a lot of it is hokey and kind of new age medicine. But then also there's just, I think it just smells nice too. So there's also just utilitarian applications as well.
Yeah. And along with some of those benefits that you're talking about, one story that I always relate to essential oils, and specifically doTERRA, because one of the main doTERRA founders, or not necessarily founders, but they're a diamond seller, like really, really high up in the MLM world. Their son was badly burned. 3rd-degree burns around 30% of his body.
Jeez.
It was really bad. And he's a really good friend of mine to this day. But we lived really close. He was my neighbor. And after this accident, because his parents were so involved with essential oils, they found a doctor that was willing to treat his wounds with essential oils. Not the only thing they did, obviously. These were really bad burns. So they were doing conventional medicine as well.
Right.
But the doctor was also willing to use things like frankincense, lavender, myrrh, oils that have abilities to help burns, help other things. So whenever I think of essential oils, that's always what I go back to of, oh wow, like they do have these healing abilities. They are natural ways to help the body recuperate, heal, like you said, sleep. And they definitely helped him, and he's doing really well now, and was able to recover from that. And I do believe partially because of some of the oils that they were able to use. So
yeah, there's two camps always that were in existence at Young Living. There were those that were like, maybe not two camps. There was maybe a third in the middle ground, but there were always those passionate disciples that thought that essential oils could heal everything and anything under the sun. And those were the people that usually got in trouble with regulatory and legal, because all of these things, all of these oils and how they're suggested for use with like medicinal purposes and all that stuff, like very few of them, or maybe even none of them, are FDA approved. So it's not like it's conventional medicine, like how you pointed out, where they were actually doing conventional medicinal treatments. So because they're not FDA approved, like lots of people get in trouble because they'll make these big claims like, oh my gosh, like I put lavender oil under my tongue for 6 years and it cured my cancer. Like they'll make some pretty outlandish claims, and they'll always get in trouble. But then there's also those that are just like, I just like it because it makes my house smell good,
Yeah. And that probably makes their messaging difficult, right?
Oh yeah.
Because
100%.
you can have a personal testimonial, and that's one thing, right? But a company as a whole can't say lavender cures cancer, or like that's a big no-no.
Yeah, big no-no. That's why they have huge legal teams, is because they have to constantly be monitoring what their affiliates are saying, because you can't just say anything when promoting a product and claiming medicinal properties when the FDA says it's not medicine officially, And so that's kind of the background. Is Gary brought it into the forefront, productized it, and his big mantra was, essential oils in every home. So he wanted this to be kind of a global enterprise, and by and large, he succeeded. Like it's become this global thing. He created the essential oil market. But we're here to talk about Young Living and doTERRA. And for those of you who aren't privy or haven't heard this story before, or don't live in Utah, and aren't living next to a Young Living or a doTERRA executive, this is what happened in short form. So Young Living was growing, making lots of waves and splashes. They were the only big name in the space. They created the space. And then a handful of executives who were at Young Living decided, hey, you know what? Like, I think we could do this better, or I think we could do this too. Like, let's create our own company. And so a bunch of Young Living executives left Young Living after having been there for a few years under Gary's tutelage, and they went and started doTERRA. And so, if anyone, say what?
In 2008. So 1993, Young Living was founded, and then 2008 was when they were founded, doTERRA.
Yeah. So they went off and started their own company. And Gary and Mary, his wife, who runs the company now, Gary and Mary always felt slighted by that. So there's this running thing if you work in the direct selling industry, or if you work in one of these two companies, there's always this running joke, maybe not a joke, but there's always this running just cultural touch point of like, oh, the bad blood between Young Living and doTERRA, like, because doTERRA left Young Living and started its own company. And so there's been this rivalry between the two of them, doTERRA and Young Living, in the essential oils market, is, hey, who's better? They have cult followings on both sides. Who's better, and all that stuff. So there's this rivalry between the two. And I think what we're here to talk about today is, are they actually different? When these executives left Young Living to start doTERRA, did they actually make something different? Did they differentiate themselves in the space? Or are they both using the same oils? Do they all smell the same?
Yeah. And more than that is, how are they talking about them? How did they talk about those oils, right? And a little bit about Young Living is, you had mentioned that they started it, and that includes their own manufacturing, or not manufacturing, but growing. They have their own gardens, and that's what they pride themselves on the most, I think, is, first, they were the originals. They started it. And secondly, they grow not all of now, but initially, yeah, they did all of their own growth of their oils, and they call it their seed to seal. So they have vertically integrated their product, and own the whole product line, per se. So that's what they pride themselves on. And doTERRA is a little bit different. They went out and found different farmers. They found different places where they found their oils from. So they don't own the whole part of it, but they trust others to do their creation of the oils, and they go and sell them.
Yeah, there's this fundamental, that there's this, they have different approaches. So like you said, Young Living is vertically integrated, and they own farms everywhere. Like, I think maybe and maybe not on every continent, but they own farms in Canada, they own farms in Central America, they own farms in Japan, they own a farm in Croatia. So Gary was kind of this intrepid adventurer that would go out and he was always on a quest for finding new oils. So he would go find plants that could be distilled and have these oils taken out of them. And he was always learning about like the cultural and medicinal purposes that these cultures have used these oils for forever. And as a result of him just kind of like traveling the world and kind of being a student of essential oils, he would buy farms, and he would buy and operate farms in these places where he would find these oils. So for example, there's he bought a farm in Croatia, and he bought the farm, and one of the essential oils that they distill and manufacture out there in Croatia is helichrysum, which is it's a particular flower that grows really, really well over there. And so he would buy these farms, and the whole idea is, hey, exactly what the name is, we're gonna own the process of distilling these essential oils from seed to seal. So we're going to control the farm, we're going to control the agricultural processes, we're going to control the way it's distilled, we're going to control the way it's bottled, the way it's tested, to make sure that it's it's as authentic and they got in trouble for using the word pure, but it's as pure of an essential oil, unadulterated essential oil as possible, you know. So that was Young Living's approach. And then doTERRA went, and they were like not as interested in owning and operating the farms themselves. So they've cultivated like a global network, a sourcing network from sourcing partners, where they don't operate the farms, but they don't own and operate the farms, but they work pretty closely with the people that do. And so and that's the fundamental difference, I think, is, hey, one owns the whole vertical for you know, not all of their oils, but a good majority of the oils, they own it from seed to seal, like the name says. And then doTERRA is just, you know, it's good enough just to work closely with people.
Yeah. Well, so that's a little bit about both of them and how they're different. Essentially, though, their oils, nice, when it gets down to it, are very similar. Their lavenders, you know, pick one or the other, and you're probably going to get similar results. But let us take a look at their messaging. Let's hop onto their website and their socials and see how they're talking about these oils. If I hop onto doTERRA's main website, the first thing I see is 20% off spring essentials with a picture of essential oils. Then wellness made simple, showcasing a box of oils made to help someone feel better. And Cameron, do you have Young Living's pulled up?
I do. I sure do. So if you go to youngliving.com, you'll start seeing things like Meet Mother Nature, made with Mother Nature's most trusted botanicals, free from harsh chemicals, all that stuff. And you'll start to see, you know, different, you can shop by category and all that stuff. And you know, choose from our most popular products and lines to get started.
Wow.
So, but like, I'm glad you keyed in on this thing where it's, you know, it's focusing on wellness, because that's like the health and wellness MLM industry, which is like a niche thing inside the whole MLM industry. This, you know, this niche down health and wellness, like that. The messaging for those companies is so saturated. Like I'm talking like New Skin, doTERRA, Young Living, Shackley, Isogenics. I think Modere before they closed up shop. Like the messaging's oversaturated. Like it's always about wellness. It's always about holistic wellness and making your body whole and stuff like that. And that's what these companies lead with is, hey, it's all about natural holistic wellness, and it's everywhere. And I would always laugh when I was at Young Living, because I was like, there's no way for any of us to like, for anyone just to like pick apart why one product or one brand would be better than another, because it's all just about wellness. And it's like, oh, the same thing with like when we talked about Lola and Minky Couture. It's like, well, if you're both soft, like I'll just flip a coin, you know. It's just a sea of apples. I'm just trying, you know, which apple do I want today? They're all going to taste the same, so I guess I'm just going to pick this one, you know. They're not forcing a choice.
No, that's really tough. That's really tough when you're competing in that same space and your main goal is wellness. That's the biggest messaging there.
And it's not that their products aren't different, you know. Like we just talked about how Young Living and doTERRA, you know, they have some differences in the way that they produce their oils
And operate.
So it's not like that they aren't different, but it is. But like they don't talk about their products in the way that shows that they're unique, you know.
Yeah.
I think Young Living, for example, it's all, you know. This is hang on. So they all sell Young Living and doTERRA. You know, you can get lavender oil from both Young Living and doTERRA. You can get lemon oil and frankincense and you know, different blends, and the blends are going to be different, you know, whatever, and they're going to have different names. But ultimately, and arguably, it's the same oil, you know. they both focus on what's pure. They both focus on what was called therapeutic grade essential oils. I think the FDA shut that term down as well, but it was, therapeutic grade essential oils. The purest of the pure is what they were going for, right? So if you're getting lavender, if I can get lavender and lemon and frankincense and all of these different oils, and they're both as pure can be, like, how am I supposed to make my decision? How can Young Living or how can doTERRA force a choice? How can Young Living stop being looked at as an apple in a sea of apples and be looked at as an orange? How can you force a choice? What do you think, Derrill? How do you think that they could message themselves so that they're a little bit more different?
Ooh. Similar to Minky, I think Young Living has a case for originality as a company. That's hard to message, though, and in the end, nobody cares as much about it, so
right.
It gets too saturated. doTERRA has something on their socials that I thought was really good. They said the gold standard of essential oils, but not that part. Natural products backed by real science, safe solutions for health and wellness backed by real people. I thought those were a little bit different than how Young Living was talking about it. They I know they kind of show that it's a safe solution, but they don't really say it. They don't say safe solutions for health and wellness.
Are you done?
Yeah, I don't know what
cool.
else to say.
Yeah, I think both Young Living and doTERRA focus on like the science. Like if you go to youngliving.com and you click on the Learn tab on the ribbon, you'll see a whole page that says science is in our nature. Like they have the D. Gary Young Institute, I want to say, and that whole organization within Young Living is dedicated to like the science of pioneering essential oils. So they both, they're both pure as pure can be. They both essentially have the same product portfolio with some differences, and they both use science as science can be. How could they actually position themselves differently? And I've actually had this opinion for as long since I worked at Young Living.
Yeah,
I'm
a little lost here, Cameron. If I'm being honest, you're the expert in this space, so let's hear it.
I think that Young Living needs to tout its farms more. And I think they're trying to, but they don't get all of their oils from the farm. Each farm, it's hard to run a global supply chain off of a handful of farms, and so there is partner sourcing. But like to the extent possible, I think they really need to lean into the farms because that's different. That's like different. They run the whole show. It's vertically integrated. Like they own the farm, they own the equipment, they call the shots on how the plants are planted and the way it's cultivated, and they're using like eco-friendly agricultural practices. Like they freaking use goats or sheep or something to like weed out the like flower beds for some of their lavender, because like these goats and sheep will eat the weeds but they won't eat the lavender or whatever the plant is, so they're doing some crazy stuff. But like the fact that they own farms, the fact that they own the farm, and you can go visit these farms and you can see the plants being grown, and you can get a tour of how they do what they do and the reason they do it that way. I think that's a huge differentiator because doTERRA doesn't own no farm, and neither does whatever mom and pop essential oil company that maybe is in third place behind doTERRA and Young Living. I think that's like the big differentiator. I think essential oils I think people expect purity. I think people expect it to be science-backed. So I think those are table stakes, and you shouldn't lead with those. You shouldn't lead with
oh, like we're science backed and it's pure and all this. Yeah, it's like, shoot, like everyone else is. Like literally everyone else is. You're not winning anyone over by saying you're pure. You're not winning anyone over by saying you're science backed. It's like, well, shoot, so's the guy down the street. Like we all have labs. Like you think you're special because you have a lab? No, absolutely not. You're special because you own it from seed to seal. Like it's vertically integrated. There's very little third-party meddling. So I think that if Young Living really wanted to make a splash and separate itself even more, because I think you mentioned it earlier, Derrill, like, yeah, they're the OG, and they tout that message. They blow that horn 24/7. It's on their building. Like, when you walk into it, like, above the door, it says, the world's leader in essential oils. And Gary Young is still talked about and reverenced, like, his legacy as the founder of the founder of the modern day essential oils movement, right? It's like no one, like, great, like maybe that worked when he was around, but now it's not. Like you have to, like, it's time to pivot. Like if you want to differentiate yourself, differentiate or die, and and it is a differentiate or die. doTERRA's posting some serious numbers, and Young Living's privately owned, and so I don't know what their revenue is, but like doTERRA posted $2 billion, homie. Like that ain't nothing to sneeze at. If they want to separate themselves from the pack, if they truly want to be a pioneer again, Young Living, I think, has to lean into its farms. I think that has to be touted. I think that's the thing that's different. Is, hey, we own the farm. we literally bought the farm.
Yeah, I love that. Have you ever seen those supply chain transparency tools?
Yeah.
That could be a really unique messaging that Young Living could do, because they own the whole supply chain, right? From the beginning to the end, they own it. So, and people pay a lot of money for companies to come in and make their supply chains transparent so that customers know where their products are coming from. And they know that they're ethical. They know that they're being monitored, that there's trust there. And like that's what a company is all about, gaining the trust of your consumers. So if Young Living were able to show that transparency of their supply chain, and they could easily do it because they're so vertically integrated, that could be a huge messaging.
I think so. I really think they should lean into it. And I think the reason they haven't is because there are considerations they have to, because it's not they don't own 100% of their supply chain, just because they have to service so many customers, and they have to supply so many essential oils at such a high volume that they'd have to own way more farms than they do. So I understand why they don't do it, but if they could find a way, like, those farms have to be at the forefront. That's what's different. That is the special sauce. Is, yeah, you know what? I own a lab. I have an institute that's doing academic and peer-reviewed research into the world of essential oils and their chemical constituency and how pure they are and all the different medicinal purposes that may or may not be there. But so is everyone else. Literally, so is the guy down the road. Literally, so is doTERRA. But you know what doTERRA doesn't have is, hey, I own the farm. I know exactly what goes into these oils because I plant them myself, I water them myself, I harvest them myself, and I distill them myself. That doTERRA couldn't touch because they don't own a farm. They work with partners, and Young Living's like, nah, man, I own that. I own the farm. I think that is a super powerful differentiator that should be at the forefront.
All right, so say Young Living does that. Does that leave doTERRA in the dust?
No, I think it differentiates them. I think it creates, it's not an apples to apples comparison anymore, which is what you don't want. It's an apples and oranges.
Yeah.
It's hey, do you want an apple or do you want an orange today? I think, and as you're reading the product description pages of the apple and the orange, you can make the decision, is an apple more valuable to me or is an orange more valuable to me?
Yeah.
And I think that if Young Living leaned into its farm ownership more and its messaging, people would see that, that's more valuable to me than maybe what doTERRA is offering. So I would definitely say it would definitely differentiate them so they wouldn't die.
I wonder if Young Living did that and I was doTERRA, if I would really lean hard into empowering local businesses.
Oh, interesting.
Like, all right, well, you just own and control all of these different, these pieces. You know what we do? We help local businesses thrive by giving them product, or by being there, helping them supply us. Maybe that's what I would do if I was doTERRA on the flip side.
There's just a different approach, yeah, and I think they would probably be wise to doTERRA should lean into whatever the upside of their global supply chain partnerships are. I'm sure there's upsides to that they get to mine that Young Living doesn't, and that might be valuable to their consumers. I think the essential oils market is quickly reaching, if it hasn't already, maturation. And when a market reaches maturation, I think that you have to start to niche down into different audience segments. And I think there's definitely a market of people out there that would appreciate a vertically integrated, farm-owned, seed-to-seal, farm-forward Young Living more than they would appreciate doTERRA.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in to Differentiate or Die. Join us next time as we dissect more brands and uncover what truly makes or breaks their success in today's market. Make sure to subscribe and follow us. And remember, it's not just about being better. It's about being different in ways that truly matter. Thanks.
See you guys.